Hello everyone out there, and let's talk about the Sticky App application again. Now, before I move ahead, you will notice that there are two icons on my screen, Sticky Notes and the Sticky Notes, one with the capital S, one with the small s. And even before that, I have gone ahead into the Windows scale and made it a zoom to 75%. And we can see we don't have much room on the screen, but still, I would like to have this view to get the details about the table views and all of that to share with you. Now, here is a confession before I move ahead, not a big one, but a small one. And I was sipping up my coffee and I was onto another system, and there I have designed this app again. And it is not going to make much difference because I have used all the variables and everything quite same. But we will be now looking at the sticky note with the small s. And again, it will not make any difference. And I've shown you this because I wanted to share that it's not about just how replicate the things or just to understand the concept. It is more important. Okay. So in the exercise files, you might want to have a now look on the sticky note, and it would be a really great exercise to convert this sticky note with the capital S exactly the same like this one. It would be a great exercise. Now, the working procedure, first I'll be explaining how the code work in the detail view controller and the master view controller. The process that we are going to follow up is we are going to analyze the app. Now, there are different procedure. Sometimes I just like to jot down my working of my application on a piece of paper. Sometimes I like to explore and analyze the app of an existing app, how it works, and then try to replicate that thing. Again, it really matters what you want to do. And in the end of this section, I'll give you a couple of assignments, and that would be easy one. I'm not that kind of a guy who just throws you out there on the internet and just do that. No, I'll be dictating you the entire code, some kind of a dictation, and then you just have to apply that. That will give you an immense confidence on building an app while someone teaches you how to do so. Okay, great idea. Now what we want to do is first let's analyze the app. So a sticky note app with the small s, and I would like to open that up and come on, run up. And it's not working. Let me just run it through my interface. Okay, now it's working. And I did a play button on my Xcode, nothing fancy. So this is our sticky view notes app. You can notice that there is entire table view being laid up. But right now I'm worried on the second interface, that is detail view controller. So as I tap on this plus note, notice there is a blank note being displayed that says depicting that nothing is there. If I hit it again, it just gives me one node, but it enters the new node at the top of the sticky notes table view. Okay, good so far. Now I'm interested in the table view. Now you can see I'm fancy again, having the velvetish look. And if I just use some of these words like I am at a time when you are so much for a long way in which. Now it's a great thing to do. Just keep on clicking on that. So notice a velvetish look. I have changed the background of the view and the text is being changed to yellow. I hope everyone can do that now. It's really simple. Now when I go back, it is saving my app. Now let's try to do that one more time and just try to understand how things are working. So as I hit to create a new object on this plus button, a blank note is being added on the top. Okay, good, I can do that. And when I click on this blank note, I'm taking to the new segue, a new view. And as soon as I hit the new view, let me get back on to the 50%. Notice there is a keyboard being on, and make sure in the hardware and keyboard, the toggle software keyboard is on. Okay, as soon as I move on to the next view, my whatever I just type in, now what a coincidence, I love you so much by the way. And as soon as I type on something, or whether I don't type, the keyboard is actually displayed. So you can see that we are handling the first responder immediately as soon as we move on to the second view. Now as soon as I go back, my data is being saved, my description label is being shown on the table view. And if I even stop the app, that is Command Shift and H, still if I just hit a Command Shift H twice quickly and close the app entirely, that will be making a crash on my Xcode. Hit that stop and play that again, and my data should be saved. And yes, my data is saved. So I'm saving a data on a couple of times. So first I would like to describe how I have designed the detail view controller in that. Okay, now time to bring on the Xcode. And here is my Xcode since my app crashed a little bit, so it's making a little bit mess. And here we are on the full screen view. Let me adjust that onto this tiny screen. Okay, you can see that memory and all of these are being debugging. Let's just try to stop that, go on to the folder view, and I would choose a detail view controller and get rid of all these nasty things. Okay, so what is our objective now? Even before I move on to the detail view controller directly, I cannot, because I have to create a couple of functions that can save the data, can load the data, and can update the data, because you have noticed that as soon as I move back onto the master view, it not only saves my data, it updates my data as well. So I'll go into the master view controller. We are all familiar with these kinds of updates. I have already done that in the previous movie, nothing to be taken again care of. So we have created a master view, a detail view controller, some objects which are array of strings, the selected field which will take account of our current index and on which we are tapping right now. Okay, so moving on bottom of my screen, you will notice that I have a function save data and I have a function load data. Nothing much fancy. I'm using the NSUser default standard which we have discussed previously in one of the movie, and you can call anything, but first time you have to call the set object. Now later on you can, when loading at the data, you can use any of the methods like array for the key or pop for the key, and there are many for popping out the data from the array based on the keys. So this is not much fancy, and again notice that introduced this synchronize function. A lot of people don't just use that, and when the user taps on the home button, the data is not saved. Everything is being implemented nicely, but still the data doesn't get saved, because without this synchronize function, the data is being saved, although saved by this line, but it happens on the you can simply say on the conditions of the operating system. It's all dependent on operating system, but with the synchronize function, we are forcing the data to be saved at that time. Okay, after that I'm using the load data, and why there is an if let, that's known as the optional chaining. And why we are doing that? Because we are testing if there are any value inside our array, like array for key, which is the save nodes. So if there is a data or not, because if we are just going to implement objects is equal to loaded data, or objects is equals to NSUser data default standard user and all of that, now this is going to definitely make a crash, because at the first time when we are just loading our app, we have no data to save on, and if that happens, obviously there is going to be a crash. And in order to save that crash, we are first checking if there is any data, which is of course is going to be a string array type, is out there or not. And if the data is there, then only we want to update the array of objects by the loaded data. Okay, good, quite so far. And one more interesting thing, that I am typecasting it as an array of string. That is really necessary for me, because when I'm sure that my data is going to be which type, always try to have this one. Otherwise, in this Swift, it is not allowed. Okay, we can talk about this master view controller in the next movie, because right now I would like to follow a bottom to top approach. I would like to design my detail view controller. But in order to create my detail view controller, first I need to go and call this final update method. That is again a custom function being defined. And what I am doing in this, whenever I'm moving from my detail view to my master controller, I want everything to be saved and the table to be reloaded. So what I will be doing, that I'll be calling a view will disappear. Notice we talked about that in one of the section out there, that these are important functions like view did load, view did appear, view will disappear, and you get a fractions of seconds to deal with that. So what I'm doing is I'm calling a save data function from master view, and I'm also calling a method, a table view, and I'm reloading the data. So a good point to call this function will obviously be when the view is about to disappear. And what I have done is I have called this final update here. Now I'll talk about all of this in a moment. Let's try to start from the top, what I did out there. Now notice that there is a configure view and we want to configure this view out there. So what I have done here is I'll start from this point, and the first thing that I wanted to happen, or of course, let's talk about the view did load. Now, as soon as the view has appeared, I have configured it as detail view controller equals to self. Now this is how you load up. Now there are a few methods. Now notice I'll just show you where the things are going wrong in the present scenario. If I move on to the master view controller, and this is the part. Now previously in the template it was said that the detail view controller will load from this method, the view did load, but I don't want this to happen, so I have commented this out and I have moved down and I have written a line that says somewhat here that the detail view controller is loaded as soon as the view is loaded. Okay, and as soon as the view is loaded, I have made this detail view description label as become first responder, and this is responsible for popping up the keyboard. And this method self.configure view is being called a number of times. We'll discuss that in just a moment. Give me a minute. And also what I have did that as soon as the view is appeared and we want to save the data, we'll do that in a minute. And what I wanted to do is as soon as my detail view and configure view is loaded and first responder is loaded, so the keyboard is popped up, what I have seen is that as soon as the view will disappear, what you want to do, that's okay, now the view is appeared and we want to disappear the view. So I have said that whatever my object is being set on the field, that is selected field, make sure that the description label becomes the text. Now this is going to happen on the table view, and if the text, that means there is nothing on the text, you can simply just make it a blank, and the object for selected field is going to become default note, which is just a blank. And also we want to have the final update. So what we are doing, if the user writes something, we want to make that as a description label on the table. If the user don't write anything, we just want a default message to be appeared on the screen. Okay, good so far. Now let's talk about this configure view guy, what this guy is doing quite a lot. Okay, first thing I have done is I have moved ahead a little bit. This line is not there by default in the template. I have commented this let detail and all of that, and the entire section, this bracket as well as this bracket, I have commented that out. And what I want to say in this section is simply nothing much, just allow the user to write something. That means just configure the view to write it. So what I'm saying is I'm calling the detailed description label, and inside that I'm checking that label.text is equals to objects selected field, and if label.text is equals to default note, just make that empty. So it's saying that don't pop this default note a message, that is just simply blank note, don't appear that onto the detail view. Just make sure that the screen is totally empty when the user wants to write that. Okay, we have discussed quite a lot, and again definitely take a look by your own on this entire method. That is going to be the best way to understand this code. Okay, now you can see that our description, that configure view is being called quite a number of times. I haven't touched that. And also there is one more thing. Now if objects.count is equals to 0, we just want to return from the method. Now you have to tell me what this line is doing, although it's really simple, but again, just to make things interactive, I want you to just notify me in the comment section what this line is doing. Why we are just returning from the method if the object count is 0? What is this going to affect on the working of this? Now we have configured this, and let's again try to have a look on this app. If I run this guy, and where is my, here it is. So what is happening? As soon as I click on this new note, there is a blank, but this blank doesn't get transferred if I click on that onto the next screen. That is why we have got that if and all that selected. So if this happens, we are just having a first responder being responded, and I can type anything. As soon as I get away from the screen, that means the view will disappear. My data is being saved, as well as final update, and this guy, final update is being called up. And as soon as the final update is being called up, we are moving back, and you can see all view is being on the screen. So table view is also being uploaded, and my data is also getting saved. Okay, so that part is done. Now we need to talk about this view. So let's talk about that in the next movie.